But Mishna Rishona Shel Avos. In the first Mishna of Pirkei Avos, Ne'amar, it says, Moshe kibel Torah misinai, Masra Yeshua, Yeshua l'Zikanim, Zikanim l'Nevim, Nevim Masra l'Anshe Knesset Gadola. How does Pirkei Avos start off? It starts like this. Moshe received the Torah from Mount Sinai. He gave it to his pupil Joshua. Joshua gave it to the elders. The elders, next generation. They gave it eventually to the prophets, the Nevi'im. The Nevi'im, they gave it to the people of the Great Assembly. The people of the Great Assembly, that was around the beginning of the Second Temple. They said three things, etc. Okay, so first of all, we have, in the beginning of Pirkei Avos, a little bit of a history lesson. A little bit of a history lesson. Please, don't do it in class. We have a little bit of a history lesson. First lesson is, how did the Torah get down to us? Moshe got it from Mount Sinai. He gave it to Joshua. Joshua gave it to the elders to the prophets. The prophets gave it to the men of the Great Assembly, and etc. That's how it came down to us. All the interpretations of the Torah. And then it says, these people of the Great Assembly, they said three things. You should make a lot of pupils and be very, deliberating when you come to judging people, etc. Okay, so there's two parts of this Mishnah. The first part of this Mishnah talks about history. The Seder on Masorah Shel Torah, the history of the Torah, where the Torah came from. Kish and Moshe kibel Torah misinai, when Moshe received the Torah from Mount Sinai, and he gave it to the next generations until the people of the Great Assembly, right? That was the order of things. History. Second part of the Mishnah talks about Shlosh Haros. It talks about three teachings that these people of the Great Assembly said. Right? What did it say? Make a lot of pupils, be very deliberating when you judge people. These are two separate issues. First of all, it talks about a history lesson, which doesn't seem to have anything to do with the whole purpose of Pirkei Avot. The whole purpose of Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, is to give us lessons in personality improvement, attitude, how to act properly, how to think properly, how to treat other people properly, how to treat the Torah properly. If so, there's two different sections to this Mishnah. That haven't got any connection between them. Yeshiva Ohr Tmimim, we have to understand, Madua Klalatana b'Mishnah Achad v'lo chilek l'shtei Mishnah. If so, why don't they make into two different laws, two different Mishnahs? The first Mishnah should say that Moshe got the Torah from Mount Sinai and where he got it down until it came down from generation to generation to the people of the Great Assembly.
So obviously they're relevant to each other.
So they must be relevant to each other if they put them both together. So first of all, we have to understand what could possibly be the relevance. The second part is talking about personal attitude you should take to the world. The first is talking about cold history lesson. Cain built him move on. It's also not understood. L'shem ma mafar Tanya ki Moshe masarat the Torah Yeshua. Yeshua is Cain. He's Cain the Nevi'im. Nevi'im not nulan shekanesu gadola. Why does the Mishnah have to say the whole entire chain of history? What do we care about? Just say Moshe got the Torah from Mount Sinai.
What was the first one? What was the first
Question?
Yeah.
Why put them both together in the same Mishnah?
What was the first one? The first Mishnah.
The first half of the Mishnah? First half of the Mishnah is Moses received the Torah from Mount Sinai. He gave it to Joshua. Joshua gave it to the elders. Elders gave it to the prophets. The prophets gave it to the men of the Great Assembly.
Second.
The men of the Great Assembly said three things. Right? Be deliberating when you judge people. Judge everybody favorably, and
I
make a lot of pupils. Stand up a lot of pupils.
mean, could be connected because the first part, where it's like, judge someone favorably, and Moshe said,
But what's the connection between that and the history? History lesson is what happened, how the Torah came down to us. That's very nice, you know.
Hashem obviously judged everyone favorably, or else he wouldn't have given the Torah to everyone.
Could be.
It's validating the teachings.
Well, let's see. We'll see in a minute. Mr. Smith, give me that siddur there, please. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your... I'm sorry. No, that's okay. Same thing. Same thing. Has the same thing written on it. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I thought it was wrong. It says that later on. Havi done call Adam the Kavzakul. It doesn't say that here. It says the three things are be deliberating a judgment, make a lot of pupils, and make a fence around the Torah. That's it, Havi. Sayig the Torah. Okay, in any case, those three lessons have nothing to do with the history. What's the connection? We'll see. I mean, obviously you can make a connection. You can, something, but essentially it doesn't seem like there is a connection. Essentially, so what you can do is make it two separate Mishnas. It's not such a big thing. Make it two separate. First of all, tell the history of the Torah, and then the people of the Nakashik and Nezagadola, they said these three things, right? Be deliberating and make a fence around. Huh?
It's a part of history, isn't it? The fact that they said these three things. Why would it be...
No, if that's the way it is, then put everything together, make one big Mishnah. You don't have to have separate Mishnahs at all. Don't make any divisions. Everything's part of it. But they do divide it into separate Mishnahs. So obviously the first part of the Mishnah is talking about history, and the second part is talking about the lessons to be learned from these men. That's the main thing. So it's just sort of like a preface. So make it separate. In other words, what the question is not what connection they have together. What is the essential connection that they're included in one Mishnah? It must be something essential that's here. It's like asking a person's eyes and a person's mouth are totally different. Why put both of them in your head? Right? Why put them both in your head? The eyes should be one person and the mouth should be another person. Right? That's ridiculous. The eyes are part of the person and the mouth is part of the person. The same here. Why put these two lessons in the same Mishnah? History lesson and also a personality lesson. Why put them in the same Mishnah?
To show the importance of what you're learning, that it comes from Moshe, who got it directly from Hashem.
That's relevant to everything. They could have made a special Mishnah before that, and then to know everything afterwards all comes from God. Right? Why these three things are included as one with this history lesson?
This teaching is so non-typical of everything else that we learn in Torah.
Why? How? What's wrong with this teaching?
It's teaching us how to
be deliberating in judgment, right? Stand up a lot of pupils and make a fence around the Torah. This is intrinsically attached more than anything else.
Well, yeah,
wait a second. In Pirkei Avos to history. This is so interesting. Say the history lesson first, and then have
it's to validate it.
The history lesson validates everything. It's no more relevant to that lesson than to any other lesson. In other words, the history should be a lesson in itself, a preface to all of Pirkei Avos. Because all of the messages that are going to come are all directly from God. It's not just from experience. So why put it specifically in these three things? Yoter, okay, and even more, Hari, Gam, Kach, Ein Atana Mafarid, et Seder, Masura, Derech, Klal, Adoros. If you want to say that it's telling you the importance of that the Torah was received from Moshe, like what you said, so skip. Moshe received the Torah, and that's from Mount Sinai, and that same Torah came to the people of the Great Assembly. What do you have to tell exactly the generations that there were, the line of generations? And another question, if you want to really tell the generations, so include all the generations. Include everything.
If you include everything,
one kekan. Shekena Zakanim and the Nevi'im themselves, the Zakenim and the Nevi'im were many generations. How many generations was it from Moshe until the Anshe Knesset Gadola?
But it never knew.
It was approximately 1,000 years.
But throughout Avos, every time they introduce a new set of sages who are teaching the Mishnah, at that point, it restates who they got it from. So it's as opposed to having it all in the beginning, it sort of takes you step by step through.
But it doesn't take it step by step. In the Nevi'im, in the Nevi'im themselves is 400 or 500 years. Why doesn't it say, look in the beginning of the Rambam? The Rambam has in his introduction the whole entire chain of giving over from Moshe Rabbeinu down to the last prophets. Right? Down to the last prophets. All the way down. In fact, even more. Even after the last prophets. It goes down to the Mishna, to the people of the Mishna, and even the Amoraim. It talks about, no, so give it right down, all the way down. Right? 1,500 years of history. Why stop with the Anshe Knesset Gadola? And if you want to stop with the Anshe Knesset Gadola, at least have details. The Anshe Knesset Gadola, those people, that lasted a long time. Anshe Knesset Gadola. And the prophets, I think, lasted even more. So why not specify exactly who they are? Who are these people? Right? If it's important, so detail it. If it's not important, right, the main thing is just to know that Moshe got the Torah, and that same Torah came to us. So skip all the generations in the middle. You can skip the elders and skip the prophets. Well, Pirusha Mishnah is me'achar she'ena Tana roa tzorich larich, because the Tana, the one who arranged the Mishnah, usually that's Rabbeinu HaKodesh, and to detail all of the generations. So it's not understood mishum ma'u hu mazkir benifrad the Torah shel Yeshua, the Zakenim and the Nevi'im. Why did he pick specifically these three generations? If he's not going to make any details, so just say Moshe received the Torah from Sinai and the Torah came down to us.
They could be easier to understand.
Right? Make it easier to understand. Why do you have to? Why does the
three that they state may be easier to understand in that time period?
I don't understand. Yeshua lived together with Moshe, right? The elders, that lasted for, right, let's say 400, 500 years.
Till the judges.
Then the elders, let's say that's included the judges. Then afterwards are the prophets. That's the whole time of the first temple. That's another about 500 years, right? Why only those generations? There were so many elders and so many prophets.
Well, doesn't Avos pretty much, once it really starts going, start after the prophets?
So skip the whole thing. Skip all of them. Just say Moshe received the Torah and he gave it over from generation to generation till the Tanaim, the Amoraim. When did they start writing the Mishnahs down? After the destruction of the Second Temple. After the destruction of the Second Temple. The destruction of the Second Temple was like 1,500 years after Moshe. Dover knows if there's another thing that's not understood. Ha'uvda, the fact that the Zakenim gave the Torah to the prophets. Please look inside. It's the last paragraph on the left side. And also to the people of the great assembly, they received from the prophets. Einu novat, this does not come from the Yitron HaNavua Shelahem. This doesn't come because the prophets were superior to the people of the great assembly. Shechem Navi Asur Lipsok Halacha B'Torah Al Pi HaNavua, because Moshe gave the Torah over to the prophets. A prophet cannot decide laws because of his power of prophecy. Prophets can only say what they heard from God. Ki Torah lo b'shamayim, the Torah is not in heaven. If you want to say that Yoshua just repeated what Moshe said, he remembered everything. If you want to talk about the elders said and they discussed and they learned. If you want to talk about the people of the great assembly, they made all these laws and they discussed things. Came from their own, their own holy intellect. But prophets cannot discuss things in the Torah. Prophets can only say what God tells them. And the Torah is not through prophecy. Moses was a prophet, true. Moses was a prophet and his Torah was through prophecy. But after Moshe, prophets cannot decide laws. Prophets can tell the people what to do. Prophets can, after Moshe gave the Torah from Sinai, no prophet can stand up and say differently. That's what the Torah says.
But they're not saying differently, they're saying exactly what it says.
Okay, so if so, why is it then that they are considered to be in the line of the giving over of the Torah from one generation to the other generation? Just say that the Moshe gave it over and it came down to the people of the Great Assembly. The prophets, they're just a continuation of Moshe. It's not prophets. They're just giving over exactly what they are. Mutar lo livsok halacha rak al pi chachmato. And a person can decide laws. Laws are not decided from prophecy. These people who received from the elders, and they gave it over to the people of the Knesset Gadola. Why are they called prophets? All they did was just give it over what they heard from the elders. They heard from them. So it should have said Moshe got the Torah. He gave it to Yeshua. The Yeshua gave it to the elders. The elders gave it over to the people of the Great Assembly. Which that's the fact. It's just that the prophets in the middle, they didn't wreck anything up. But they didn't really give it over, so to speak. They didn't really give over, and they weren't Torah people. The whole thing of the prophets is not Torah. The whole thing of the prophets is prophecy. They tell the people...
But the writings are Torah.
What?
The writings are Torah.
What the prophet said were Torah. That's the prophets added that on their own in order that people would do what it says in the Torah. But that's not the Torah that Moshe gave over. They're not giving it over as Torah. They're giving it over as prophecy. This whole thing is talking about the order of Torah. The Torah was given over by the people who sat and learned the Torah. The thing of the prophets is not learning Torah. The things of the Torah are just giving over what God says. Right? Prophets are not part of the lineage of giving Torah over. The prophets, their prophecies were only to tell the people what to do in order to strengthen the Torah, in order to do what it says in the Torah.
Well then that's like Avot. The teachings of Avot to strengthen the learning of the Torah.
What the Rebbe is trying to say, a prophet's thing is not Torah.
Okay.
The prophet's thing is prophecy. If so, the Torah was not given over by the prophets.
Okay.
That's all. So the prophets shouldn't be included.
Yeah, but you just said that one of the roles of the prophets was to support learning Torah.
Yes, but the actual teachings of the Torah were not given over by prophets.
Well,
When the prophets saw that the people were making mistakes, then the prophets went and reproved the people.
So can you make a simile between the teachings of Avot and the teachings of the prophets, that they both work to enhance learning Torah?
Say what the prophets said, but the prophets are not part of the history of giving over the Torah.
Yeah, but if the prophets weren't there, and everyone kept making mistakes and kept forgetting it, and if prophets weren't there to enforce it and support it, we wouldn't have it.
Right, but still, nevertheless,
Part of history.
the prophets are not, their purpose, their job is not Torah.
Avos is not Torah then also.
Their purpose is prophecy.
Okay.
That's all. That's what the Rebbe is saying. Let's go. If so, that the importance of prophets is not dealing with the Torah. It's a secondary thing. The purpose of the prophets is prophecy, giving over exactly what God says, not teaching Torah. Therefore, we have to say that all of these details are somehow or other very, very intertwined and necessary one to the other. Moshe, Yoshua, Zikanim, the prophets, the people of the Great Assembly, and the three teachings. Make a lot of pupils, be deliberate when you judge, and make a fence around the Torah. These have to be somehow or other intertwined one with the other. So it's very, very a necessary teaching that's all one unit. Can't separate it.
You could say that the prophets were a fence around the Torah.
Let's see what...
You could say Avos, the teachings of this.
Yes. Very good. Let's see what the Rebbe says. In other words, there is the level, and all of these things exist inside of us. There is the level of Moshe in our soul, the level of Yehoshua in our soul. And that's one of the big novelties of Chassidut, to make the Torah alive, to show that the Torah is not just a book that we received 3,300 whatever years ago, and that it still is relevant now. No, the Torah is inside of us. Everything in the Torah is alive inside of us. It's not just relevant to us. It is us. There is inside of every Jew a Moshe. There is inside of every Jew the level, if you want to call it, of Yoshua. There is the level, Joshua, the level of the Zakanim, the elders, the prophets, and the people of the Great Assembly. This is found in the soul of each and every one of us.
If that's found, if that is all found in the soul of every Jew, why isn't it we all act like that?
You have to bring it out.
Why is it we don't act like that?
It has to be revealed. That's the purpose of teaching, learning Torah. Torah brings out the good. In this world, rarely is good revealed. Rarely is good revealed. This world is a very difficult, confusing, disappointing, evil place on the face of things. The people who are strong, the people who are powerful, the people who cheat, the people who lie, they're the ones that receive first. That's the way the world works. And the quiet people, the people who are honest, the people who are truthful, who are this, they stay in the background. Right? They don't push themselves up forward. That says, ideally, it's not supposed to be that way, ideally. Why did God make the world that way? Like we said, when you're making Kiddush, Asher Bora Elokim Lasot. That's the whole idea of the circumcision. Okay, Herschel. What is the circumcision? To remove the foreskin. The foreskin is the thing that God created. Why should we remove it? Right? It's a part of nature. Nature is not good enough. The answer is, it's not good. Nature itself is not good. It's our job to make it good.
But you're like saying that